new trailer for the Batman. I just think it shows an awful lot of the movie, and you're about to take an even closer look at that. So keep that in mind, especially as we come off of Spider-Man No Way Home, the most spoilery movie ever. As I've been saying recently, we're living in the age of spoilers. And I think it's fun to know a little bit of inside stuff about a movie, but it's quite another to know how the entire movie unfolds. So anyway, I'm going to break this trailer down to answer some of your questions. Yes, I did wear this shirt intentionally. I'm a huge Catwoman fan. And one of you also said, you can't just say Zoe Kravitz is maybe the best new Catwoman. You got to explain it. And I plan to explain it in this video. To me, what's the most exciting about Matt Reeves as the Batman, and has been since day one, but it's just proven more so with each look at it, is that it's incredibly comic book accurate. Oh, that's exciting. It's the most comic book accurate DC movie to date. I think that's been something that's been missing from DC movies. I just recently broke down all 27 MCU films, ranked them. And I said that a number of them reminded me of what it was like to actually read the comics. And I really haven't had that experience. I didn't like the tone. I didn't like some of the taste issues with the James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. But to be fair, I think he did very much capture the tone of that comic, which, that's a comic that's not particularly popular the way it's been reimagined. So I think that was a bit of a problem for that movie as well in terms of huge mainstream success. Of course, I understand some people liked it quite a bit. But Batman is a huge mainstream success, and this reminds me very much of his comics. Now, if you're like, I'd like to read this comic so that I too can understand how comics accurate this movie is, well, you definitely want to check out Batman Year One. You want to check out Batman Earth 1 and 2. I know we don't like Jeff Johns, but he's done some good work, and that's some of his best. And then also the recent runs of Scott Snyder, who was a very male-centric Batman writer. I did not particularly care for his Batman. This also draws very much from Tom King, who I also didn't like very much as a Batman writer, to be honest with you. But I do like what he has done with Catwoman. Tom King has really elevated Catwoman to be like Batman's Robin. That's who he fights crime with. And, I don't know. Batman Year One, Batman Earth 1, no problem there. Those are brilliant. But when it comes to Scott Snyder's work, everyone loves Scott Snyder's work, but I think the audience is a little narrower than other Batman comics. Although I think that the enlarged role for Catwoman here will fix the female appeal issue. And then Tom King, well, let's see. Let's see how people react to the actual film. I know a lot about it. I think it's so visually strong that I think people will be fine with it as a first chapter. You might not love everything in it, but from what I know about it, I don't think there's anything that's going to trip people up too much. Although you never know with today's audiences. All right, so as for Zoe Kravitz, yes, when she was first cast, I was nervous because she has been in flop after flop after flop. Audiences have just not responded to her. And of course, you always have to be concerned with actors who are the children of famous people because you wonder if they're there because of nepotism. Ben Stiller's commented on that actors, children of famous people who want to follow their parents into the same profession really have to prove themselves. All kinds of professions. But the first point where I was like, hey, Zoe Kravitz is genuinely talented was when I saw her in Crimes of Grindelwald as Lita Lestrange. And I felt if only she'd had more to do there, but the screen time that she did have, I thought she was very compelling. And I guess Warner Brothers felt the same way because, studios are becoming, more and more like the old studio system where you work for a studio. And I think that they want to invest more in Zoe Kravitz. And seeing her work in Grindelwald and now here, I understand that investment. I think she's incredibly comics accurate. That is what is so exciting to me about her version of the character. She leap more than any character I see in this movie, leaps right off the comic book page, the most to date. I mean, with all due respect to Robert Pattinson's Batman, I think he's doing a very good job. But not like Zoe Kravitz. She is the comics Catwoman. And I think having a black Catwoman is a fantastic nod to Eartha Kitt, one of the original Catwoman on the Adam West show. And by the way, I'm a huge Eartha Kitt fan. Empire's New Groove, she's hysterical. She's very talented, incredible range. And of course, we're just coming off of Christmas where her Santa baby is iconic. All right, let's break this down. We got a lot of stuff to go over. All right, here we go. So we start out with the old school Batmobile. And as some of you pointed out, blue is actually the least hot flame, so that's good. I like that they blue and orange are the, and by the way, blue and orange are the colors that are the most pleasing to audiences, which is why so many movie posters use that color scheme. So Matt Reeves is like, I'll just use it in my whole movie. I like that there's some fire jets on the side of the Batmobile too. It's got fire coming out of every orifice. All right, so there he is. I like the way the camera is mounted in this car chase. It's very cool. But this is intercut. Now, this is a great intro. It's just so good. This is a great introduction to showing the dichotomy of the duality of Bruce Wayne and Batman, and how Bruce Wayne has to take a hit so that nobody guesses he's Batman. I think that's awesome, right? So Bruce Wayne has to come across as someone who is not, who is an irresponsible, wealthy playboy. And he's getting called on it right here. I like this look on his face. It's like, did you just touch me? Did you just try and get my attention? Are you interrupting me? But kudos to this actress, who I actually looked up. I was so impressed with her screen presence. This is Jamie Lawson playing Bella Real, who it turns out is running for Gotham mayor. She's like a grassroots candidate, for the people, just the kind of politician that Batman would get along with. And she's not a character from the comics. She has to compete on screen with Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne, who is doing a very good job as the character, and she holds her own. So kudos to her. She's like, my people told me this, as Alfred, it's not available. So I love this look of him, by the way. Again, we've seen that before of him in the restaurant. That's so rich boy. Yeah, don't bother me. I love that. He's like, if only I could tell her. Robert Pattinson is uncomfortable a lot in real life, but he's channeling it really well into this character. So she's like, I love, by the way, that POV shot is amazing. Amazing. I think that's another car. Yeah, I got to tell you, they have a little bit of I think they talked about it in the Batman White Knight comic about insurance rates in Gotham. Hilarious. All right, so anyway, now this is a really important shot. You see that shot in the car where he's like, this is actually right out of, well, not exactly, but it's a similar shot where in that comic, Batman Earth 1, it takes place on a rooftop. But I love this look on Batman's face where he's like, oh shit, I hope I know what I'm doing. I mean, it's just fantastic. Usually Batman is always shown being so sure that he knows what he's doing. And I think this taps into, I told you that this Batman is going to be dealing with mental illness. I was the first to tell you that they're doing the Batman Earth 1 Martha Arkham storyline, where his mother is a member of the Arkham family. So that runs in his blood, and it gives him a much deeper connection to Arkham Asylum and his rogues gallery. I love it. There's always that question, would Batman's villains be in Gotham if it weren't for Batman? Right? So they're all kind of part of the same insane club. And I think this movie highlights that beautifully. All right, so there is a much safer drive, right? He just seems so uncomfortable and so not wanting to be here. I think he's going to do a great job as Bruce Wayne. I like that actors are paying more attention to the importance of their portrayal of Bruce Wayne. I thought that Ben Affleck was a great Bruce Wayne, and I think Robert Pattinson is doing a great job as Bruce Wayne. So he's like, that's how upset he is in real life. I mean, just, Batman. I like the Batman's anger. I think it's very relatable, especially these days. So I love the Wayne cufflink. I like that, this is also very much out of the comics, that the Waynes are as much a shadow over Gotham as the bat signal is. It's his own Wayne family signal on his cuff right there. And that the Waynes have just so much, not only history with Gotham and an image, but as you're going to see in this movie, some baggage. So it's really just fantastic. I like a more, at first I wasn't, as I was very against the idea of some Waynes who are not 100% awesome, right? They maybe have Joker first introduced this idea. And I actually think, I think considering what's happening a lot with the wealthy today, I think that it would not be realistic to just portray the Waynes as like these altruistic, perfect, people who just happen to be wealthy. All right. It's hard to get wealthy without breaking a lot of eggs. All right. So she's like, your family has a history of doing a lot for Gotham, but you don't seem to be doing diddly squat. Nice lipstick, Bella Real. She's keeping it real. It's like Real is actually her name. So there's Penguin. Penguin au flambe, it looks like he's about to have. So he hits the back of his car. This is great. Look at that. So the camera's mounted on the Batmobile, and you see, I don't know how Penguin's alive after that, by the way. Bring him in alive, Bruce! He's like, I tried. But that's just fantastic. That's just phenomenal. I think, did he have a seatbelt on Yeah, he has a seatbelt on. That is fine. It's a movie. But that's just really a great shot. Just really good camera placement. It just adds like a real the feels to the fight, to the chase scene. It's a car fight. It's a car fight scene. And then Bruce just can't help but laugh. That's really a nice moment. So there's Riddler, looking nothing like Riddler. He's Riddler crossed with Hush. I don't like this version of Riddler. But you know, Riddler, some people love Riddler. Never been a big fan of Riddler. Okay. So that obviously looks like a map of Gotham. And, you know, it's left for Batman, a real change. This police officer is like, I want to play too. So there's Alfred, who seems to be pretty much of a stick in the mud in this movie. I think right out of Earth 1, by the way. Right out of Earth 1 with a more militaristic Alfred. You know, usually Alfred has a history in the comics of working with a theater company. So that's why he's like very good with disguises and stuff like that. But I think someone who's going to sew up Batman's wounds and kind of like help him run this, you know, crime-fighting empire, it makes more sense that he has a military background. So I can't believe he picked up. I can't believe he not only picked up the phone. Well, actually, that's Riddler's phone because, you know, Batman wouldn't have such a phone in such bad condition. You can see the top of it's taped. Is that the phone? Oh, I think that's the guy. Oh, well, I wonder what that is because, you know, at the funeral they have a guy using a phone like this. But look at Batman's face on the other side of the FaceTime thing. That's hilarious to me. I'd be like, put your thumb over the screen, Batman. You should have little Batman stickers for cameras because, you know, this is a modern... I told you before this was going to take place in modern times. Some people thought this was a period piece, but it's not. All right. And see, Riddler knows. Riddler just kind of peeps into frame. He's like, hello. I'm enjoying our first date very much. All right, so anyway, Batman's like, everybody wants to date me. All right, so I like the way that with the Batman leather mask and the paint under his eyes, that you very much can tell that there's a man in there. A man who might be a little insane, and I think that's awesome. I wonder how other people react to it, though. It's always tricky when trying to take some of the more complicated elements of comic books, particularly DC Comics, and bring them to the mainstream viewers, who like, I think, a more clear-cut, cartoonish situation, which is why Marvel is so successful. All right. So he's like, here's a gift for the Batman. I'm like, red ink, is that blood? No, it would have dried a different color, I think. But it's like, for the Batman. And here's this guy's head, wrapped up like the Riddler. It says, no more lies. We've seen that before. So there's Batman putting together his own little vision board. No, it's like working on the Riddler situation. So he's got, those are his leads. You know, his father is very important into what's going on with the history of his family, as you'll find out. There he is, of course, doing it with his shirt off. I love it. That's hilarious. Although he looks pretty ripped. Good for you. He's a slimmer Batman, but I think it works for him. I think he looks good. Although, I don't know. It looks like he would get really... I don't know. I like maybe playing in the tiredness. I mean, he just has to keep punching people. I guess he'd have to be really angry to keep his stamina going. All right. So she's like, it's all about the Waynes. He's like, oh, let's talk about something else. Mention the cats. There's a lot of cats. And he says that line very well, by the way. I would not have guessed that Robert Pattinson would be able to deliver that line so well. So I'm very proud of him. They liked him after watching him in Tenet. And he was great there, too. I love both their performances in those respective movies. So there she is. And I guess it's, you know, so obviously her apartment. She seems like she's working on her own little mystery back there. And I love her nails. I think her nails are so fantastic. It's such a great idea for Catwoman. And I love that they're not red. I love that they have that nude color to blend in with her skin to give her a better silhouette, you know, to give that really cool look. And of course, it looks like she's drinking a glass of milk. One of my favorite things from Batman Returns, when Catwoman, you know, Selina Kyle loves milk when she comes back after her transformation. And I love her line where she says, I have a thing for strays. I think that's one of the reasons that Catwoman is so relatable to women, and that I think women often have like an interest in strays and fixer-uppers. So I think it's great. And the way she looks at Batman when she says that exchange is just so perfect for them. It's like, it's amazing. It's incredible to see it. It's right off of the comic book page. I love her haircut. Her bone structure, it might be the role she was born to play. So also, is she that good a fighter or is that a stunt woman? But I'm really impressed with Catwoman's ability to fight. And I like the way she has a different fighting style than Batman. You can see there they are working together. She's the Robin instead of Robin. And I can see Warner Brothers not wanting to put a child into the mix here. I can see that being a little bit iffy about that. which is why Bruce Wayne adopted a grown man named Dick Grayson in the Batman Forever movie. All right, so anyway, look at that. She almost is like a cat, staying low to the ground like that. That's some great footwork. I'm very impressed with the movement. I mean, it could be a stunt person. Whoever it is, the way they're putting the character together is very impressive. Look, they're dancing. She's like the bat and the cat, has a nice ring to it. Although I do agree with many of you that Tom King has them call each other bat and cat way too often. It gets kind of sickening. But otherwise, it's okay. Just do it, not too much. So Alfred's like, is this a new friend of yours? And there she is on a camera there. And Bruce is like, I'm not so sure. The thing about the wig is actually very important. So we have a better shot of that later that I want to point out to you. All right. So another great silhouette fight. She's a little slow on the turnaround with the kicks there, but I don't care. Her form is excellent. And I don't think he just seems to be playing defense. He's like, don't punch her in the face. She'll never go out with you. All right. So there they are, more rooftop tete-a-tetes. There's Riddler, looking again not at all like Riddler. Riddle me this. What's with the tape on your head? All right. So there's Riddler's mark, which is very important. I wonder what it's supposed to stand for. Like the clues that come out of a riddle. That is like one of my favorite shots of the trailer because it's just such a great Gotham City. It's such a twisted, dark version of Times Square, which of course, New York is supposed to be Gotham. So I love that. But it's just amazing. Gotham Empire up there, it's just stunning. It's just really perfect. And so there's Bruce. He looks great. He looks really good. So there's Bruce. He's looking at his car, and someone's holding the Riddler sign. Oh, that reminds me a lot of the stuff out of Joker, too, which is great. I wish these movies tied together. I'm with you. I wish they all tied together, but they don't. All right, I mean, they have their own multiverse now, but I don't know. The multiverse, to me, doesn't really work with the more hyper-realistic stories of the DC movies. And also, there's lies, lies, lies up there on the top, which is similar to No More Lies that is written on the face of that guy. All right, those police officers are doing nothing. All right, so there he is. Seems to be on the roof maybe of GCPD because that's obviously, I think, the bat signal there. Cape in the wind. And so there's Riddler again getting arrested, and Batman's there. He's like, what does this have to do with me? I'm intrigued. That's a great shot, too. Again, more of a focus on the man in the mask instead of the mystery of the Batman, which I think is really great. Because it's one of the complaints often from actors who play Batman is that their character is the least interesting in their movies because everyone cares about the villains. So I think it's great. If you make Batman a little bit crazier, a little bit angrier, and you focus on him a little bit more and almost turn him into one of his own rogues, maybe that makes the character a little bit more popular. Although he is insanely popular. All right, I like the blue and red lights flickering off of his face there. Sure rains a lot in Gotham because they shot a lot of this in England. So he's like, you're not as smart as I thought you were. And he's like, oh, that cuts deeper than anything else you did to me, Riddler. I love that shot. Is that Wayne Manor? He's like, thanks for putting that, and thanks for installing that Art Deco lighting, Alfred. And he's like, whatever. It looks great, though. It's an incredible shot. Matt Reeves really has upped his game. Matt Reeves was under a tremendous amount of stress making this movie, but I think it worked out. I think it paid off, worrying himself that much. So there's Commissioner Gordon working with Batman. Love to see it. Where it all began. Joker's like borrowing from every villain. He's like, seems a little jokery too. He's like, you lied to me, Alfred. And Alfred's like, grow up, man. He's like, I think he says we all have our scars. And they said it at the same time as we look at Bruce's back. That one looks like a fresh one on the left there. Great stitch work, Alfred. Alfred's like, go to a plastic surgeon if you care that much. All right. There he's looking at his cufflink. He's like, my cufflink, should I keep wearing it? Yes. Now look at this. I love the shot. You can almost see the grease paint and the leather. It's not just a cowl, but you can see the mechanics of how it's made. And again, it makes it seem more real. And you can really see his eye. It's all watery. It's a great shot. It's actually also one of my you can see the stubble on his face. It's actually, again, another one of my favorite shots in the trailer. Now, this police person's like giving Gordon a hard time, being like, see, I think he's maybe the commissioner. I think Gordon's not the commissioner yet. So he's like, is he involved? Is it him? Batman's like, all right, that's my sign. That's my cue to get out of here. She's like, who's under there? Tell me now so we don't have to waste too many movies with this ridiculous... look at the nails. With this ridiculous will they or won't they stuff. All right. So I think that's cut together. And he's like, don't waste your life, Selina. She looks great in that wig. But it's a wig, and that's important. Hold on. Look, I think she's fighting someone else here. I don't mind the mask. The mask is a little bit based on the comics as well. You know, she's doing this stuff herself, man. It's clearly, you know, a hat that she's pulled down over her face and cut some eye holes in. So there, that guy, something's going on with this guy. You'll see. And she's like, I've got 9 lives from him, honey. Don't worry. And that's great. But look at this. I like this shot. You see right there? I think her wig comes off, and you can see she's wearing this leather bustier and pants right out of year one. Right out of year one, her first appearance. That's really cool. And she looks so much like the character. There she has another wig. The short hair not only works really well with her own costume, but also for her ability to wear wigs and disguises. It's a great choice. I love the short hair. And it's hard to rock hair that's that short. But Zoe Kravitz looks amazing. She's got a smoky eye. She's just looks absolutely perfect. All right, so we're back at the funeral. And you can see there's the mayoral candidate there as well. And this poor guy's forced to play. Now so there's a lot of water, and I'll just say that, you know, during Scott Snyder's run, there is a flooding of Gotham. So this trailer confirms it. So it's on them for putting it in the thing. So yes, you can see all these explosions, and you see all the water rushing into Gotham. In the comics, this ushered in a no man's land type scenario, and I think it's way too early for that in this Batman universe. So I hope that all the water is easily pumped out of Gotham after this. All right. So we see some cool fight scenes with him, you know, and I like this shot again. We see that again. So there he is chasing Selina at this club. Look at him. He looks like those guys that he beats up in the other trailer. You know, the guy who plays Robin in Titans, right? So it's good that he can take off his costume and still walk around. And he's like, I just look like an emo guy. Now, this is some kind of event for the same mayoral candidate. Maybe Bruce Wayne paid for it. Maybe she guilted him into it. But this takes place at a stadium, and there is a big third act in this. And this takes place in a stadium. So those are Riddler's guys. You can see there they've got that. They taped their own heads up. Ridiculous. What's it have to do with questions? So look at that. His fight's good, but her fight I think is the most impressive. She seems to have the speed, but the way she takes that guy down, she's got rid of the mask. She looks just fantastic. She cuts a great figure. I mean, it's also based with this Catwoman is also based on the Darwin Cook version of the character. If you're looking for another comic book to read, these are all great comics, and you have time to do it. Look, he's hitting them with the back of their own gun. How does that guy miss that shot? That guy's right in front of him. Where is he shooting at? What an idiot. How did he miss that? They must have orders not to shoot Batman. So he's like, I'm so damn tired. I hate everybody. All right, so the Batman. Woo-woo! It's going to be great. I'm excited. All right, so what did you think? How do you feel now that we've gone over it? What comics do you like? What do you think of the comics I've mentioned? What do you think about basing this movie on that? Share your thoughts down below. Subscribe today. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.